GM has overtaken Ford for EV sales in Q1 2025. Wild. What do you think?
Absolutely crazy. I mean, it's funny seeing these automakers compete for the number two spot because we already know Tesla's number one. But while they are competing for two and three, Ford and GM, their growth has been immense compared to like previous years. And so it's going from like, the teen thousands to the 20,000s to the 30,000s per quarter. And so it's getting up there. But GM's rolling over, which I'm sure makes you happy as a GM fan.
Yes, of course. I am very happy. And they're growing exponential rate. Their sales, I think I read, were up 119%
Wow.
for GM quarter over quarter, I believe. And they were the number one selling in Canada. So they're making huge strides. They're right now in the number two spot behind the all-powerful Tesla, which I don't see anybody beating them anytime soon, of course. But it's wild. So according to GM, their numbers, the number difference between GM and Ford, or Chevrolet and Ford specifically, that's the comparison. And Chevy has sold 37,000, more likely it's an approximate number, compared to the 34,000 for Ford. And these are sales this year through May. Interesting thing to note, GM has 3 major EVs or consumer EVs, while Ford only has 2. GM has the Silverado EV, the Equinox EV, and the Blazer EV. And according to GM, the Equinox EV has been kind of the power behind this higher number. That's been the best selling of the 3, which makes sense. It's probably the best form factor from a popularity standpoint. Fits right in the Model Y territory. And so compared to Ford's lineup with only 2 EVs, they have the Lightning and the Mach-E. We do have Bright Drop. Bright Drop is a commercial vehicle, obviously, but if you want one, it's there. My local Chevy dealer has like a ton of them. They're a GM fleet certified dealer, and they have like literally like 50 of them just sitting on the lot there. I want to get one to like mess around with. E is Ford's commercial. E-Transit's super good, and I wonder if these sales summaries include their commercial offerings. Pretty sure E-Transit has the Bright Drop beat, just by my gut feeling.
Don't see too many of those around, but I've seen quite a few e-transits. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it makes sense. You have an internal combustion engine Ford Transit, and if you want to go EV, which for fleets I think literally makes the most sense to switch to electric, you're not switching much. You're just switching the powertrain. You get an electric
Exactly.
version. Your drivers are used to the Ford Transit already. They're used to how it drives, the software, infotainment, all of that, size of it. So it
Yep.
makes it pretty easy.
Yep. Same business model Mercedes did for the e-Sprinter.
Right.
Literally like apples to apples. And honestly, same thing Ford did for the Lightning. Basically, F-150 with the battery and motors. And I think that's why they're super strong, because although GM or Chevy in this case has the highest selling in general, Ford has the highest selling EV truck. Right now, the Lightning is selling faster or selling more than Cybertruck, Silverado EV, and I'm blanking out. What's the third one?
GMCC.
Oh wait,
Wait.
no, Rivian R1T. You have
Yeah,
them.
Rivian. Right. Which one am I thinking of? Yeah,
I
Rivian.
know.
Right. That
Yeah.
company.
So they're beating all of them, and that's because I'm pretty sure the average truck buyer, especially in the U.S., is going to look for the most popular truck that's electrified, and of course, that's the Lightning. But yeah, the interesting thing to note too. One thing GM is really good at, and this is coming from a very diehard GM fan, they're very good at replicating. So if you look at overall sales from GM to Ford or GM to X other manufacturer, while some of their metrics may look less, sometimes if you actually combine their full deliveries, it's more. For example, for years I've been talking to people in the trucking or pickup truck industry. You're like, oh yeah, Ford has outsold Silverado again. Yeah. Then I'm like, well, hold on, guys. They might have outsold Silverado and they might have outsold Sierra, but put those two together, since it's just GM, and you realize they've sold maybe 30% more than Ford has. And so GM is very good at that. Chevy Equinox has 3 other sister platforms. Same for the Traverse. Same for the Blazer now has the Buick Envision, and no Cadillac yet, but probably coming soon, knowing GM. But yeah, they're really good replications. So I'm glad they're taking that advantage for their EVs. The Blazer EV is also the Cadillac Lyric, if I recall.
And the Prologue
Yep, and
and the
the Prologue.
ZDX. It's
Yep. So
like,
they're even doing the replication amongst other brands, other manufacturers who are licensing their platform and basically just rebadging and redesigning when they can off of the GM EV platforms. And that makes me wonder. I wonder if these numbers include those sales or not. That'd be something to figure out because the Prologue has been selling pretty well, at least in my area. I see a Prologue at least once a day now
yeah,
in my area in Orlando. And the ZDX, I see a couple ZDXs here and there. In addition to the Blazer, I'm pretty sure they're selling a pretty high number. And I wonder if that plays a part in this grand number here, or if it's, since it's technically another manufacturer, if it's counted as, Honda's sales or
right.
Acura's sales. Similar to how the Sprinter a long time ago was also the Dodge Sprinter. OGs remember that. But yeah.
And I guess just looking at sales as a whole, I mean, this is something me and Tom were talking about previously, like off screen, but looking at some of the sales numbers here, I'll kind of pull this up for Ford. But you'll see like, and this is just US, so maybe you add Canada, it like it bumps up quite a bit. But it shows electric vehicles
Mhm.
22,550. And then for GM quotes 34,000. And if we actually went to here, it says 31,800, which of course is close enough. But, if GM is saying that Ford sold 34,000, sorry, GM says 37,000 what they sold. But if GM is saying Ford sold 37,000 EVs in quarter 1 in North America, or was it the US or just the US?
Yeah, just the US,
I don't
34,000.
like where are they getting these numbers? Because if Ford is saying they sold 22,000 EVs in the US, then and GM saying no, you sold 34,000. What
Mm.
is Chevy counting?
Yeah, it's strange. I've been trying to figure that out. And I'm like, is the discrepancy, at first I thought was a discrepancy of numbers to the Bright Drop. Maybe Bright Drop made that sale difference,
Yeah.
but no chance. Bright Drop only sold like 270 trucks. It could maybe be the, 31,000 to 7,000, we're looking at about, it was like 31,800 something. So
Yeah.
a $5,000 gap, $5,000 vehicle gap. And who knows, maybe that could be where the Prologue comes in. Let's see.
Or 5,000 units. There's like so many numbers. It's like it's everywhere. But
Yeah, let me see. Prologue sold in first quarter 2025, 9,561 units. So it's more than 5,000, that's for sure. Close to 10,000. So I'd imagine they count these on their sales.
maybe that's what it is.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Interesting.
I'm curious where that discrepancy comes from, whether it's
Yeah.
commercial sales, and it could be, they're regular EVs, but in commercial sales,
Right.
sometimes they defer that as well. I know Silverado is sold to businesses. I mean, it's sold to Hertz a lot. Hertz has a bunch of rentals. My local utility companies have been implementing both Silverado EVs and Lightnings into their fleet. So who knows? Maybe that could be where that missing 5,000 is. Not to mention sales for their other vehicles too. Maybe Blazers and Equinoxes going to other rental places. Who knows?
Yeah. It's interesting of the gap here, but where there is no mistake, GM has overtaken Ford, or sorry, Tesla, which is crazy, has taken over Tesla in Canada, which I guess makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? The Model 3 and Y, I reported on it like multiple price increases over the past 6 months. We've had the tariff issues and as well as just Tesla increasing the prices in Canada. And so, if you go to Tesla's Canada website, it makes like the Model 3 like a $70,000 Canadian vehicle. And then, of course, when you convert that, it's like $50,000. But the point is, it is much higher. And then you go for someone like GM, which probably has a way better supply chain, if just being honest, in terms of where their footprint is in Canada. GM has a huge footprint in Canada. They're able to sell more vehicles, and especially that Equinox. I see those everywhere. I was
Mm-hmm.
telling people like I wouldn't be surprised if the Equinox overtakes the Model 3 very soon in the United States. I would not be surprised. And due to its cheaper selling price and GM's supply chain availability, that just makes GM the number one EV seller in Canada, which is just nuts.
Yeah. If they want to do it, it's GM. They know how to do it. They know how to produce. They know how to advertise, except for the Suburban, and they know how to really they know how to really to make the most out of their production, whether it's, to my point earlier, splitting them up into many different brands, or even trim wise. They know how to really make the most trims you can. I mean, heck, a lot of their flagship cars have like 10 different trims these days. So they can hit just about every market they can, from the very low bar to the very high bar. You start seeing it with the EVs. I mean, the Silverado EV is supposed to have a lot more trims. Right now, it just has work truck, LT, most recently Trobos and RST. And if they get on the same page as Silverado gas version, who knows how many different trims they're going to have. And so like they can literally hit as many different markets
Right.
as possible in one nameplate. And that's another thing GM is just so good at here. I wonder, I mean, Ford is also really good at that too. The Lightning was recently kind of consolidated. They kind of consolidated their trims for 2025, but originally it was kind of the same thing there. You had the Lightning Pro extended range, that was only for fleets. Then you had the XLT extended range. Then you had Lariat and Lariat extended range. Then you had the Platinum, which was only extended range. And that's, 8 different trims or 8 different configurations before even doing any other options. Now they've consolidated to just XLT standard range, Flash extended range, Lariat, and Platinum extended range, and that's it. So they're covering, they're more generalizing their trims, but also covering a bit less ground, if you will. The entry level trim is a bit more expensive than what the Pro used to cost, but at the same time, realistically, with the employee pricing right now and the rebates that they're going for to kind of clear inventory, they are selling for about the same, if not cheaper, than they were when they debuted. Because when they came out, they were wildly priced. Now I can get an XLT in the 50s now. I got my Flash in the 50s. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different like nitty-gritty stuff that goes to these numbers, whether it be sales metrics or it be actual sales events. That's probably a testament to Ford's Lightning sales. It's likely due to employee price, all these different things like that. All the rebates, they were slapping mega rebates in Q4 last year. I wish I
I
was able to get
remember.
mine in Q4 last year, because man, I've seen some flashes go for wild amounts, and even platinums going for $25,000 off. It was wild. And who knows, maybe the same thing happening for GM here. They know how to sell vehicles. And so,
If it's
no
one thing
surprise.
dealers know how to do, it's
Yeah,
it's take vehicles off the lot.
yeah, no surprise here.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this develops over time. Like
Mhm.
GM elsewhere, I would say particularly, well, China, they're actually doing well, especially with the help of like their more micro cars. But elsewhere, Australia and Europe, where are a lot of prime EV markets, GM is not doing all that well. So it'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see how this develops not only internationally, but here as well, as GM continues to kind of ramp up. And got the Silverado. We need a suburban Tahoe EV, right?
Yes.
That's going to do well. What other ground is there to like cover for electrification? The
Yeah.
midsize SUV market is really where it's at.
Yeah. Midsize SUV. We could always use midsize trucks or compact trucks if they make a
Good point.
Colorado EV. Oh man, that'd be so good. If we had Colorado EV, we had a Ranger EV from Ford. Heck, Stellantis, bring back the Dodge Dakota. Why not
Yeah,
make it an EV? Um, I
we
love
don't even talk about
midsize.
Stellantis. They're no longer in the conversation of like big three. It's kind
Fun
of gone.
fact: I saw an electric charter today. It was the first time I actually spotted it in the wild.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
parked. Did it
I'm
break
surprised
down?
it's
I'm just
one of the handful sold ever.
yep.
No one's
But
buying
yeah,
those.
so we'll never make a video about Stellantis outselling. Well, maybe
Yeah, who
Stellantis
knows?
record for
Yeah,
selling.
Stellantis in Europe is doing great, which is weird. It's
Mhm.
like, I mean,
Well, that's their
they're doing great
territory,
over there.
because
Yeah,
they used to have it used to just be Fiat and their brands, and Stellantis, gathering the IP and the company of Mopar or Chrysler from over here. Basically, they're only selling their major American vehicles over here. across the water, they are still very dominant and a very respected manufacturer. Honestly, even before the Fiat purchase, Chrysler and Ram, and they weren't that reliable already. So like, I won't blame Fiat for them. They have their own issues, but I won't blame Fiat for that entirely because their vehicles over there sell great and work great, at least from a general scheme.
Even the electric Stellantis, in terms of reliability. I mean, we haven't heard huge issues, but right, the software and driving dynamics haven't been all that great. So internal combustion engine or EV, yeah, Stellantis, particularly Jeep, Chrysler,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, and they have the same. And this is the issue I think I fear Tesla getting into. We saw Stellantis, particularly Jeep, with the Cherokee and
Oh.
even the Durango and the Charger and the Challenger,
Mhm.
same vehicle for like almost 2 decades. It is just the same body, same style, no changes. It seems Stellantis is catching on because we just got a Cherokee refresh in like 2019 and they're already getting a new refresh this year.
Mhm.
But you fall into that trap of just it's not broken, don't fix it, and you end up just kind of falling behind. And people
Right.
end up becoming more loyal to other brands.
Exactly. And that's funny you mention that because it's another thing that GM knows how to do for their sales. They always have the classic GM mid cycle refresh halfway through, and then they'll have a full refresh at the end. Usually, a production run for a vehicle could range from, 5 to 6 years. Some may go a bit further, but usually GM will refresh and then keep going depending on the sales of the car. And like they'll know if this sells good, my refresh, let's keep going. So to kind of take it a bit, all right, full redesign, and now sales it back up again.
Right.
Like it's like clockwork.
They've got a routine down. We just got to see Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat kind of hit that stride again.
Definitely. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think about how GM could even expound on their sales. What are some vehicles you'd like to see GM electrify? Obviously, for me, I want to see the Suburban EV. It has to come. It has. We have the Escalade IQ, so the platform exists. It's on the
Right?
Silverado EV
Good
platform,
point.
the Hummer EV platform. It exists. They just need to go ahead and make it so I can buy one.
Also, forgetting to mention, the Bolt is still coming back,
Yes,
which the fact that they're
the
making an
legend.
even cheaper EV than the Equinox, because the Equinox still gets this federal tax credit until that's taken away. And you get money off, and then you have a $20,000 something EV. And then we're going to get the Boltium, so the Bolt on the Altium platform. And I think that may actually be killer because if they can get the price right,
Oh yeah.
all they need is decent range, just 250 miles. Efficient enough car, you can get a 50, 60, 70 kilowatt hour battery. 50 kilowatt charging, just get the charge curve decent, hold 150 kilowatts till 60%, 70%. That's all you need. And GM would kill it with the Bolt. And it's
Yes.
crazy. They still got more cars coming.
Yep. They still have many more coming. The Bolt would literally make strides. I'm so excited for that to come back.
It'd be exciting.
Well, awesome. Well, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.